Hey guys, welcome to the Reality Mastery Program, and this is week 4, module 1, Mankind's Only Battle. And in this module, we're going to be talking about coordinating through the dream and in general, why coordination is so important and what this concept is even about. And next, we're going to be talking about excessive potentials, what they mean, their significance, and how they actually block you from getting to your goal, and why sometimes unexpected obstacles seem to always present themselves on the path to achieving your goals. Next, we're going to be talking about the cause of these excessive potentials, and in general, the concept of importance, and what inner importance and outer importance are. And then we're going to be talking about freeing the self. And this is going to be revealing to you the key to actually decreasing importance to eliminate excessive potential overall. And we're going to be doing a demonstration of importance to really understand the nitty-gritty of it and understand the core fundamentals behind it, what causes it, and how to become a master over this concept so you have no obstacles left to get through. And then finally, we're going to be ending with the 3 keys to reducing importance. So make sure you pay attention and let's get started. So by now, you should have begun a complete consciousness revolution in your reality. And you should have begun managing your thought processes by centering your attention at least 10 times per hour and visualizing with the plan. The 3 questions that you ask: who am I, where am I, what am I doing, getting into full realization of that, and also using the plan to just in general control your thoughts and keep inventory of which thoughts you're predominantly keeping up there and consciously choosing these thoughts. Next, you should be implementing the mirror principle and the 2 identity shifting techniques throughout your day, throughout your week, and this will help you get back into alignment of who it is you're trying to become. And next, you should have completed all of the worksheets from the previous weeks. You should also be doing the self-mastery guide first thing in the morning, last thing before bed, as a means of getting into alignment with the vision that you've created for yourself and of your life. Finally, you should also be tracking your reality via the reality planner every single morning and every night before bed. So with that, let's get started. And first, let's talk about this concept of coordination and what it really means. Now, you'll see that whenever you're manifesting something, there's always going to be 3 phases. And the first phase is always choosing and committing. And, sometimes people get unconsciously successful at some things and they say, whenever I choose and really commit to something, that's when things go to shit. Because whenever they actually consciously do that, they immediately go to phase 2, which is the inevitable grace period when things germinate. And now in this inevitable grace period, as you saw from week 3, module 2, there is this delay factor that needs to be accounted for. And this means that reality takes some time to actually arrange things for you. And it always takes the path of least resistance. So there are always temporary inconveniences that's going to happen because reality is just going about its own way of making things for you. Let's say you have a goal of making 20K a month and you're making 5K a month. Next month you make nothing. But then the following month you make 10K and then the month after you make 20K. This personally happened to me. So this is absolutely possible. And the key is to stick to your guns. And phase 3 is the deliverance of these goals. So if correct coordination is not in place, then whenever you're in phase 2, it'll eventually inevitably lead back to phase 1. So you'll keep ending up at ground zero. And this is why people keep going through Groundhog Day every single day. Because they keep taking 1 step forward and 1 step backwards. Now, what is coordination? Well, coordination are just methods to allow you to stick to your guns regardless of what happens in your external reality. You don't really need anything else. You just need some good coordination. That's it. And now, why do things really go to shit? So before understanding techniques to actually solve them, we must understand the principles of why they even happen. And understanding excess potential and resistances will really shed light on this. And now the 2 sources of doom are negativity and resistance. And these have an internally generated source and an externally generated source. And these excessive potentials and pendulums respectively. So in this, we're going to be talking about excessive potential. And now let's talk about the devil at your heels. And as you know by now, the biggest thing holding you back is yourself. This is the internally generated resistance. And now let's talk about excessive potentials. So the definition of an excessive potential is an inhomogeneity or an imbalance created in the field of the universe whenever there is a disproportionate amount of thought energy or meaning attributed to anything. So whenever you focus too much on something and you need something and you're attached to it, the thought energy is too concentrated on that thing, and this causes excessive potential. And in general, the term importance accurately describes this. So whenever you put too much importance on something, the value difference between that thing and every other thing in your life is interrupted. So, as a result, nature is forced to restore this balance on its own. And if you look at this demonstration of it, the one thing that you put too much importance on, it raises itself up in excessive potential like this, while every other thing in your life is in balance. Now, let's say you have a specific person that you like, you have a crush on. Their value is up there, while every other person in your life, or every other even thing in your life, the value of it is down there. So everything must have equal importance. If you raise, the importance of your specific person to that level, you got to raise the importance of the other people in your life to that level in order to get that person, or even manifest that goal. We're going to be diving deeper into this in just a second. So here is more about excessive potentials to make more sense of it. So to really understand nature, nature is the only perfect system, and nature will never be off balance. If you attribute too much importance on something, it automatically raises excessive potential in its field. This is just natural. Now you might be asking, so what, Quazi? Well, when this excessive potential is raised, then what nature does is it creates balanced forces to come in and reduce this excessive potential and create stability in its field. And whenever it does generate balance through these balanced forces, and these balanced forces can be anything. If you look at the city of Atlantis, because of the excessive potential generated by the mystical powers they were using, nature generated balanced forces to drown that city under the ocean. This is just how nature works. Why hurricanes and everything happen is because excessive potential is being raised and nature is generating these balanced forces to come in and balance out these excessive potentials. And what is excessive potential really? What can it be likened to? Well, it's like gravitational potential. Now, if you've studied science in high school, you know of this concept called gravity. And gravitational potential is essentially like if I raise a pen above surface level, it automatically gains gravitational potential energy. And it wants to return to the lowest energy state. This is the same with excessive potential. So a demonstration of this is here. So let's say you have a pen on a table. It can't go any lower. It can go to the ground level, but right now it's at rest. It's at its lowest energy state. So the gravitational potential is 0 with respect to the table. And now when you raise the pen to a height of h, the pen is at an unstable equilibrium and it wants to fall back down to the table. So now the gravitational potential is with respect to this h height that it's been raised to. When you raise it even higher, there's even greater instability in this field. So the pen wants to move lower and lower. So the pen gains even more gravitational potential. And this is the same with your thought energy. And just as with the pen, your thoughts also get too concentrated whenever you're focusing on one thing and you really need that thing. You were attached to that thing, and this generates excessive potential. So to give you an example, whenever there is concentrated thought energy and too much meaning on something, there is excessive potential. And when this person thinks about their interview and I must succeed at this interview, I need to, then the excessive potential is directly correlated to the intensity of this thought and attachment. So this excessive potential is generated by importance. Now let's talk about importance and in general how it manifests itself into these two forms, namely inner and outer importance. So what is inner importance? And the definition for inner importance is whenever a disproportionate amount of meaning is attributed to any shortcomings or values and virtues that you have, this generates excessive potential. So to give you an example, whenever you're excessively cocky as well as excessively modest, this raises excess potential. So to give you an example, when I first started practicing spirituality, meditation, manifestation, and I started manifesting these little things into my life, I started bragging about it. And I was like, because I meditate, now I can sleep 6 hours a night and be fully rested. And whenever I would start bragging about it, I would see that nature would just give me a slap in the face. And next day I would have to sleep 9 hours. And I saw that whenever I started manifesting these little things, I would start bragging about it. Nature would give me another slap in the face and just take it away from me. So I never really understood why that happened. And then I started to understand that I am throwing myself off balance by being excessively cocky. And also I saw that when I first started to never get sick, this always happens. I would always brag about not being sick. I'm like, look, I'm practicing meditation, taking cold showers and taking vitamin C. I never get sick. And whenever I would brag about this, next day I would just fall sick. It's absolutely crazy how this works. So be careful about this and throwing this off balance. So even excessive modesty creates excess potential. So with thought energy, an imbalance is created whenever you attribute too much meaning to this own personal value or shortcoming that you have, and nature wants to balance this out. So then the balance forces come in and even out this excess potential by taking the path of least resistance. Always remember that with anything in life, nature will always take the path of least resistance. The human mind wants to create complexities. That's just how it is. But nature always takes the path of least resistance to deliver you to your goals or even to balance out excess potential. So excessive modesty also creates excess potential. And the victim mindset actually keeps you stuck. Okay? So excessive cockiness and life gives you a slap in the face. Excessive modesty and life gives you a slap in the face. Whenever you're a victim and you act like a victim, life will just keep making you stay stuck like a victim. Now, you might have a question that if reality doesn't give to the excessively modest, then why does it give to the excessively cocky? It's two ends of this scale, right? So one end must be correct and one end must be incorrect, right? And the answer is, the temperature scale. So, everything wants to be at balance. Everything wants to be at room temperature. But if you put the temperature too high, then enzymes denature. If you put it at too low, then everything freezes up. So, arrogance / excessive confidence and self-deprecation are just two ends of this one scale. So now, whenever you do tread on two ends of these scales, when you go from excessively modest to completely self-deprecating, excessive potential just occurs with different signs. So, it goes from a positive excessive potential to a negative excessive potential because this value difference is still being disrupted. So the key is to abandon this scale altogether. Cockiness and self-deprecation are born out of a dependency on external conditions. And what that means is, you look at your external reality and you're like, look, I have money. And then you get cocky. And when you look at your external conditions and you're like, oh no, I'm poor. And then you get self-deprecating and you feel like a victim. So these are both just dependent on your external condition. Now your internal state begins to become dependent on your external reality. And you become a slave. And you saw this in the last module, in week 3, module 2, in the mirror cycle. Most people observe their reality first, and then they form the image by their thoughts and attitudes. Don't do this. Form the thought and attitude that you have, that you want to form. You can do this consciously without needing anything from your external reality. The image forms as a reflection, not the reflection to the image. Now, an interesting thing to note is that true self-confidence actually comes from an acceptance of your true value. And cockiness is just a projection of insecurity. just as self-deprecation. This is just the scale. So people who are cocky, they have to be, cocky and show this artificial projection of cockiness because they actually deeply feel insecure inside. Like, think about someone who feels the need to brag. Why would you feel the need to brag if you weren't insecure? You're compensating for something. Someone who wears all flashy things and, tries really hard to impress other people, there's always some sort of insecurity that they're trying to balance out by these artificial projections. Someone who's truly confident doesn't need to do any of these. And, truly confident people don't need to exert their confidence. They just are, and it exudes. Always remember that. When you are just deeply, truly have inner confidence, then it just exudes out of you. When you realize your true value and you don't try to, put some artificial embellishment on it, then it just exudes out of you. When you let go of the battle of confidence and insecurity, that's when it actually comes to you naturally. And here's the key to inner importance. So the key is nature will always take the path of least resistance to balance out any excessive potentials. So it gives you the easiest solution. So the easiest thing for nature to do when you're cocky is take something away, the balance returns. You're being cocky about too much money you have, nature takes away this money, gives you a big tax at the end of the year. Easiest thing for nature to do when you're self-deprecating, leave you where you are, and the balance is maintained, right? Because when nature leaves you where you are, this is just nature's way of keeping this balance. Because of your thought energy, it just makes you stay where you are. By giving you what you want, it doesn't work like that. This is just nature's way of keeping balance. Because if it gives you what you actually want, it wouldn't be taking the path of least resistance. It would actually have to exert more energy to give you what you want rather than just leave you here as you are. So both cockiness and self-deprecation are just a projection of artificial importance. The scale of insecurity. So that temperature scale you saw, that was the scale of insecurity. Arrogance and both self-deprecation were just two ends of this scale. Abandon the scale altogether. And now the golden standard for inner importance. I'm not a special person, neither am I unspecial. I just am. And here's a pinup for you to download in the action items below. And remember that you're not special and neither are you unspecial. You just are. Once you see your true value for what it is, and give yourself permission to express yourself unconditionally, others do as well. Cockiness and self-deprecation are both two ends of the same scale of insecurity, which inevitably leads to the rise of balanced forces. True confidence comes from within, without any dependency on external factors. Go down to the action items section right now and download this, put it up on your wall, remind yourself of this every single day. This is something that I forget. This is something a lot of people forget. So you want to be looking at this every single day, reminding yourself of this. Now let's talk about outer importance. Now what outer importance is when a disproportionate amount of meaning is being attributed to any external event or thing. And this again raises excess potential and invites balanced forces. And when you put too much importance on your external goals, this actually disrupts the value difference in nature and tips the scales again. And this is the biggest reason why people are actually unable to attract a specific partner. And putting a person on a pedestal takes them further and further away from you. And this is nature's way of balancing things out. Really think about this. Any external goal that you have, the more you try to get it, the more you force it, the more it resists you. This is because of the work of excessive potentials. It wants to create this value by taking it further and further away from you until you forget about it. So, this is also why letting go is powerful. The imbalance is actually created through thought, and when this thought energy dissolves, because you let go, the flow towards your goals resumes. And the goal is actually achieved via the delay time in the previous intention that you did have whenever you do let go. So sometimes people don't understand, why is it that when I let go, goals come to me? because the intention is still there. Remember the delay time. Whenever you intended before and you let go now, you're just opening up the door, because you are closing the door with excessive potentials, with attributing too much thought energy to this. So once you let go of this concentrated thought energy, the delay time plays itself, and the original intention that you set about with and the previous actions that you did, it now has a smooth flow towards your goals. So to give you an example, whenever I did my $0 revenue month, I had too much importance on it. I was like, oh no, I gotta make a sale, come on, why isn't it working? I'm not making any money, not selling any clients. And my dad was pounding down on me. He was like, what are you doing? You just graduated college, why aren't you doing an engineering job? Did you sign a client? Every day he would ask me, did you sign a client yet? Did you make money? And obviously this put down my state, because even back then, a couple months ago, I was still very, very dependent on these external conditions. But I started to see what was happening. And I just sat down one day and I cried it all out. After I was having that shitty month, I just let go and I said, fuck it. Let it all burn. Whenever you do that, that's a powerful way of just letting go of importance. When I cried it all out and released it, next thing you know, next month, boom, all the sales started coming in. And I had my 10K month. And now let's give you a demonstration of excessive potentials when a man desires a woman. Now, let's say this man has a crush on this woman, right? And as a result of having this crush, he raises this woman on a pedestal. So now this woman's value has been increased. And the more he desires this woman, the further and further she resists him, because, her intention probably isn't, she probably doesn't feel the same way as he does about her. So the easiest path for nature to take is to create more and more resistance within her, so she moves further and further away. And as she moves further and further away, the guy falls out of love, and her balance is, the balance is reestablished. She's no longer on a pedestal. And this is why nature always takes away people that you keep forcing, putting these thoughts on, trying to attract in your life. This is why it's very, very difficult for people to attract a specific partner, because they go about it the wrong way. They put all their eggs in one basket. And you're going to be seeing that in the solutions later. Now, I already talked about this. All right, so now let's talk about the golden standard to outer importance. Nothing is ever too important. If it happens, then great. And if it doesn't, then even better. Something better is always coming along. Always remember this. The golden standard you want to reach with outer importance is this state. That it's not that important. If it happens, then great. If it doesn't, then that's even better. No worries. Something better is going to come along. If you get to this state, you know that your importance level, your outer importance level, is well coordinated. Now let's talk about freeing the self and seeing the light for the first time. And this is key. There are no obstacles. If you really look at your reality right now, anything that you think is an obstacle right now, it's not an obstacle. Because whenever there is an obstacle that presents itself, just remember this. This is not an obstacle, but a representation of the importance that you've attributed to this area of your life. So to really make sense of this, if you just gain some perspective, if someone homeless, poor, and not well off were put in your situation right now, with whatever problem you're encountering, would they perceive this as an obstacle? Would they care that their business isn't doing X dollars per month? Or that their love life isn't going the way that they'd like? No, they'd just be grateful they have a shelter over their heads and warm clothes and warm food to eat. And why obstacles happen is because whenever there is a projection of this artificial importance, whenever you've just elevated something and put it on a pedestal, an obstacle inevitably appears. This is going to happen. This is why there's always going to be problems. And this can be understood by the subtle value exchange. Now remember that if you want to make money, you got to give value. If you force, people resist. If you see an obstacle, know that there is importance you're attributing somewhere. So don't try to directly tackle the obstacle first, but rather consciously reduce the importance level you attach to it and then do what's necessary. So let's say you are encountering an obstacle in your life. You're like, oh, well, Quazi's business isn't doing X dollars per month. Shit, this is an obstacle. Ask yourself first, where is it that you're attributing too much importance? Because if you consciously just reduce this importance, the obstacle 9 out of 10 times just dissipates on its own. And then you just need to do what's necessary. And now let's understand why importance actually causes obstacles. And why this happens is because it occupies your intention energy. It takes your intention energy and it ties it up into overcoming these excessive potentials. And now once we do a demonstration of this importance, this is going to make sense. So here's a demonstration. So let's say a man is walking a tightrope, right? He's trying to get from point A to point B. And, for the first time he's doing this, first time in his life, and he feels fear. With every single step that he takes, fear increases. And remember, fear is a result of this inner importance that he has to protect himself, and also a bit of external importance to, got to get to the other side. And this thought energy generates excessive potential. So, he's trying to walk from point A to point B, and he's like, shit. What if I fall? What if I die? Inner importance. Shit, got to get to the other side. External importance, outer importance. Excessive potential gets to its maximum level. And the easiest solution for nature is to actually just throw the man overboard and be done with. But this doesn't happen because the man has his own intention energy. And 99% of this intention energy is actually tied up in overcoming the excessive potential, leaving him 1% to get to the other side. So imagine this, if 99% of your intention energy is tied up in overcoming the obstacle, and you only have 1% to actually left to get to your goals, how efficient is this system? So do you see why the biggest reason people don't get to their goals is because they're attributing too much importance to these goals? If you could just reduce importance, dial down the importance level to 0, you would just calmly take whatever it is that you choose. It will be like going to a store. It will be like going to a deli, getting a sandwich. Making $1 million will be like going to a deli, making a sandwich. Because there is no importance. You would just need to put in work, and it would take some time, sure. But it wouldn't be that hard. Now, if this person were to cross to the other side, he would be exhausted, having used only 1% of his intention energy to get to this other side. And, an experienced tightrope walker would just skip past and be completely energized as they were before. Maybe a little bit of energy would be used. And, in some situations in your life, it's impossible to consciously reduce your importance. No matter how hard you try, it's going to be absolutely impossible. Especially in this situation. You can say to yourself all you want, just reduce your fear. Just reduce your fear right now. You're walking a tightrope, you need to reduce your fear, and you can get to the other side. But it doesn't work, right? Because this fear has been conditioned deeper than you think. It's in your very biology. So we must employ other methods to actually reduce this importance. And here are the 3 keys to reducing importance. Solution number 1, become increasingly conscious every day. This is a long-term solution, right? So this is a long-term play. If you become increasingly conscious every single day, and when your consciousness reaches a certain depth, you naturally detach from the external state of things and turn within. It's kind of like waking up in a dream. You begin to control it. Getting more and more conscious is like waking up in reality and understanding that this is all an illusion. Nothing that happens externally affects you because you truly understand that all is created from within. And you learn to walk through life, play with it, without getting all tangled up in it. This is the ultimate goal. And with spiritual practices like mindful meditation, yoga, centering your attention, waking up, this state can be cultivated over time. It's very, very possible. And always remember that the key is to not even put too much importance on reducing importance either, because this itself can raise excessive potential. This is what a lot of people do, and they enter the feedback loop of hell. We're going to be talking a lot about this in the techniques to reduce importance. The second solution is to create a safety net or a plan B. Now, this is absolutely crucial in reducing outer importance. In the instance of the tightrope walker, if there was a safety net under him, the fear would definitely decrease, if not dissipate altogether, right? If he's walking the tightrope and we put a safety net under him, definitely the fear would decrease. As a result of the fear decreasing, the excess potential would decrease as a result. More intention energy will be available to him. And what this means is, whenever you're doing any activity that you do in your life, make sure you have a safety net or a plan B. Don't always put your eggs in one basket. And to give you an example of this, when I quit my 9-to-5 job, there was a fear of failure in my business. There was always a fear of failure. Like, what if I just failed month after month, year after year? Nothing went the right way. Would I be able to return to the workforce? Blah, blah, blah. So as a plan B, what I did was I made sure to actually finish college and get my degree so that I could always go back. So that was my plan B. But even then, at the same time, know actually when to put positive pressure on yourself to perform. A lot of people learn about this stuff and then they're like, oh, okay, I'll just create safety nets everywhere so I don't have to do anything. No, it's not that. You got to know when to crank up your intention energies and actually put pressure on yourself. This is becoming a conscious creator of your reality, knowing yourself so intimately that you know that when you got to put the gas on, when you got to put the brakes on. This is known as eustress. When you create positive pressure on yourself, this is eustress, coming from the Latin root of eu, which means good. If you look at the word eulogy means good word. You do a eulogy at someone's funeral, right? There is de-stress and there's eustress. You want to create eustress sometimes in your life. And to give you an example, I still quit my 9-to-5 job, and I didn't do my 9-to-5 at the same time as working on my business because I knew that I wouldn't have enough pressure on me to perform on my business if I actually had a 9-to-5 on the side. If I did two of these things at the same time, then my attention would just be spread out into both of these activities, and I wouldn't be able to do well on either of them. So this is crucial. Look at how I'm balancing this out and how I actually balanced it out. I went full in on my business, aka keeping that positive pressure on myself, but at the same time I made sure to finish college and get my degree and not quit and drop out of college. So there's my plan B there. Now let's talk about solution 3. Accept the possibility of failure in the first place, in anything that you do. This is just another form of plan B. Knowing that you could just fail, but being okay with it massively reduces importance. And anytime an external goal becomes too important, just be okay and prepared for the possibility of failure. And, in the example of big interviews or sales calls, I would sometimes go into sales calls back in the day and be like, oh shit, well now I got to sign this client. Crap. If I don't sign this client, I don't make money. Oh shit. But when I started to say, you know what, I could fail this one, but there's going to be more. And then big interviews, you know what, I could totally fail this one, but I know there's going to be more. So accepting the possibility of failure. So accept the possibility and sometimes even visualize the failure slide just to get okay with it. And what a slide means is just, an image. You create the visualization, an image. We talked about this before. Just to get okay with it, just to get familiar with what failure feels like. Don't turn it around in your mind's eye too much, but rather a couple of times just to get okay with it. And whenever your attachment goes down, that's when the importance has been lowered. And remember, the golden standard is, if it happens, then great. If not, then even better, right? And whenever an external situation that doesn't go as you planned, and this actually makes you feel a depletion in your internal state of being. So to give you an example, you go to sad from happy. Then the importance level for that activity was too high, and life is trying to teach you a lesson. So you were too attached to that. So let's say you were making a lot of money and the next month you don't make any money and then you get sad. That means you're attached to making a lot of money. And so it's definitely making you feel a depletion in your internal state of being. So this is how you find out whenever importance level was too high for something, so you can improve for the future and become more and more conscious of it. So the key is to balance out your intention with surrender. Now, have complete striving within, but a complete disregard for what happens without. So this is the sweet spot to goal achievement, becoming process-oriented over results-oriented. This is actually an ancient yogic psychology. And the ancient yogi Patanjali, who people thought were just a complete god, and people thinking, even the gods were jealous of him. That's what people used to say. He wrote in the Yoga Sutras that the success secret with any sort of yogic practice to get to enlightenment is to balance out vairagya with abhyasa, which is intention with surrender. So this is key. Make sure you do this and make sure you get to this sweet spot within yourself. And here's a bonus solution, and this is called abundance setting. So when one area of your life gets too important, to give you an example, an interview that you'd have or a date that you're about to go on, what you must do is create more situations in your life that balances out the value of each. So get to a point where you'd say, if I don't have X, then that's okay, I have Y. So this evens out the importance level. So what you want to do is create situations of abundance in your life. So don't get hung up over one thing. Get more interviews and set up more dates. Now, if you have one interview, obviously this interview is going to be very important. If you have one interview every single year, this interview is going to be very important. But you have, let's say, 10 interviews a year, then that one interview is going to get less and less important. If you have one date every single week, that date's going to be super important. If you have 10 dates every single week, then that one date is going to get less and less important. So the value difference is going to be balanced out. When I have one sales call a day, then that sales call becomes very, very important to me. When I have 6, then this importance level is just spread out all over them. And here is the importance elimination worksheet. So the goal with this is to allow you to eliminate importance and as a result reduce excessive potentials and free up some intention energy so you can effortlessly get to your goals. And the process is the importance elimination worksheet. So if you go down to the action items section right now, you have access to the importance elimination worksheet. Let's take a look at that. So step 1, what you want to do is think about your goals and write down 3 of your most important goals right now. What's really taking up space in your mind? Write them down. Number 2, write down why these goals are so important to you. And then write down one reason for each. So take each of these goals, write down a reason why they're so important to you. Number 3, envision failing to achieve these goals and the possible worst case scenario and work on its surrender. And we're going to do the 4-step process of incremental surrender soon, but just try your best to let go. After module 3, you're going to learn a lot more about this. So just envision failing to achieve these goals and just work on your best to let it go. Number 4, what you want to do is now imagine that this goal has been achieved and feel grateful for its achievement and just rest in your new reality. This is key. We got to remove the bad stuff and then put in the good stuff. You can't just go on a diet or you can't just go to the gym and eat shitty food. You got to put in good food. You got to remove the junk food, put in the good food, put in the salads, and then go to the gym. And that's it for this worksheet. So just go down to the download section right now. Pause this video right now. Go down to the download section, fill this worksheet up. And here's what we covered today. First of all, we did coordinating through the dream. Second, we worked on excessive potentials. Third, we worked on inner and outer importance. We talked about those, understood the importance of importance in eliminating excessive potentials. And then we talked about the key to really mastering importance and freeing yourself. And why importance actually is an artificial projection rather than something that's real. An obstacle is just a projection of your importance. And then we did a demonstration of importance where we talked about the man walking the tightrope. And finally, we talked about the 3 keys to reducing importance and the bonus solution as well. And here's your action items. So first of all, you want to do the importance elimination worksheet. Identify which goals you're attributing excessive meaning to and reduce them. Number 2, every single day you want to get more and more conscious. And identify throughout the day when you feel a tightness when you're thinking about your goals. Work on using these methods discussed to reduce importance. And that's it for this week. And here's the true secret to mastering your reality creation. And the true secret to mastering reality creation is to reprogram yourself while working with your current programming. Work on accepting where you are right now while moving forward every single day. Take action today while visualizing a better tomorrow. Work with your current beliefs while reprogramming yourself with beliefs that will serve you tomorrow. And, get conscious more and more every single day. Increase your consciousness while still setting safety nets and plan Bs today. So practice this principle and your life will profoundly change very, very quickly. And that's it for this module, and I'll see you in the next one right now.